There's probably never a time in our history as a people, as Ghanaians and as Africans, that a properly trained and focused corps of journalists have become more necessary than now. Recently, I heard the case of a young man who was arrested. A few days later, his dead body was returned to his family. Exactly what happened to him between his arrest and his death is unclear. He was, of course, buried. In Ghana, he was buried without an autopsy. The sad thing is that this is not a very strange phenomenon in Ghana, and no doubt much of our Africa. And this is itself very strange, because anywhere else in the world, this would amount to an atrocity. It seems that when you read the newspapers, you listen to radio, you watch television, and even the online content, it has become all too clear that Ghanaians and Africans therefore require a stronger, more independent and aware press that is focused on issues of development of the people across sectors. When I say this, I'm saying that we should get journalists who should be able to move beyond the politicians and focus on sectors of the economy, sectors of society, sectors of agriculture, sectors of science, go to the rural areas and begin to do a new type of journalism that will bring development to us across the country. We Ghanaians have aspirations. Chapter 6 of Ghana's Constitution lists our developmental aspirations, and I have no doubt that these aspirations are transferable to every single other African country. Chapter 5 of the same Constitution lists our aspirations as well when it comes to human rights. Again, these aspirations can be transferred to the rest of Africa. It is probably in expectation of a more vibrant press that will not just concentrate on what the MPP said or what the NDC said, but to go down to the people and deliver on the developmental aspirations of the people at the onset of the 1992 Constitution. The framers of the Constitution gave recognition to and protection for journalists and the press at Article 1621 of the Constitution. These guarantees were necessary to motivate and protect journalists from the real dangers they faced in their trade. Even with the constitutional guarantees, journalists, I remember in the 1990s, were attacked. Some of them were jailed, some of them were killed, and otherwise mishandled in the course of their duty. At the initial stages of Ghana's democratic experiment, that is early 1992, the press played a vibrant role towards attaining the full benefits of the Constitution. In the year 2000, long-time dictator turned constitutional president, Jerry John Rawlings, essentially went out of the picture. The press, we in the press, who fought so valiantly and paid the price for it, had a problem carving out a new identity. And this is a crisis that I believe has persisted to date. What exactly should we in the press do post-Rawlings in Ghana? What should the indigenous African press do to push the developmental agenda on the African continent? And I think it is quite clear. If you look at other continents, if you look at the Asian tigers, if you look at Europe, you look at the Americas, when you can see clearly that when it comes to development, we Africans have quite a long way to go. I believe that we in the fourth estate of the realm can contribute quite a lot to this, ensuring that we develop. Several sectors of the public polity can do with greater contributions from the press in holding political, social, and economic leadership to greater accountability. It is very interesting. When you come to Ghana, we in the MPP, and I say so unashamedly, we say that we believe in capitalism, we believe in the marketplace. Our brothers on the other side will say that they believe in social democracy. But when you go to Tumu, or you go to Fanchinebra, do the people there understand these concepts? And how do these concepts translate into their lives? I think that we in the press have a lot to do in making sure that the direct benefits of these policies is explained to the people on the ground, and then they can begin to pose the necessary questions to the press on how the people can access these benefits. How do we make our political, social, and economic structures more accountable to the people? It's a question I keep on asking. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think that I can pose these questions ad infinitum, and I believe that journalists should pose such questions and diligently seek to answer them across the nation and across the government, and not only in Accra. Article 1624 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana provides important safeguards for the press. However, it is becoming increasingly clear that we do not need these safeguards. In our failure to define ourselves and to push at the frontiers of freedom, post-Rawlings, we have slowly but surely evolved into a set of timorous souls. In publishing this book, therefore, the second reason, after the fact that we are not pushing the boundaries, is that currently the products that our tertiary institutions produce, when it comes to journalism, may not be the best. I happen to be in a position where I edit 30 to 40 news items a day. And most of the fresh people who come into the newsroom, I'm afraid to say, need quite a bit of work on them. They need quite a bit of practical training. That is why I sat down and devised this book, where we have enough exercises at the practical level, so that even as they are doing the theory, as they are learning what ought to be, they will have a book with them that gives them direct, clear exercises, tries to test their mettle, try to get them onto the field, try to do what is necessary onto the field, necessary in the field, so that by the time they come out of school, if they have to spend 2 years in school, by the time they come out of school, they will not need that second practical training on the field. They will come out ready, well bent to work in the field. Now, at this point, I think, with a very kind indulgence, I'll look at the structure of the book. The book that we are about to launch is made up of 28 chapters, and each one is dedicated to one specific aspect of the practice of journalism. First and foremost, each chapter begins with the objectives of that chapter. These, after the objectives, it's followed by illustration examples drawn from Ghana and Africa. And then after you look at the illustration examples, we try to draw out the necessary principles that practitioners should learn from those principles. The topics in journalism covered include, for example, in chapter 4, we deal with the topic of the reporter as a change manager. Now, you remember I spoke about chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitution. If you go to chapter 6, Ghana has aspirations. We have aspirations in education. For instance, to make education progressively free, and the current government is trying to meet that aspiration. It is the job of the journalist, if this aspiration were not being met, as a change manager, to see how we can use the profession of journalism to push that topic. So under chapter 4, we speak of the journalist as a change manager. Now, as a journalist, you cannot last for any length of time without your sources. And I'm pleased to say that we develop sources all the time. We meet someone today, excuse me. We develop sources all the time. You meet a driver, you meet a maid, you go to a friend's house, you meet the security man, you go to Thank you very much, Godwin. Whenever you are a reporter, and you have to go out into the field. Every single person that you meet is a potential source, because that person may have information, if not today, may have information in the future. It is your job, when you meet some of these people, to establish the necessary rapport, so that in future, if the person has information, the person can impart the information to you, and then you can use that information for the necessary purpose. Now, once the person becomes a source, it is your job to protect that source. So in the book, we try to tell the people that we teach that you must have a certain relationship with your source. For instance, you cannot give up the source. Again, in the same book, when you go to chapter 7, we talk about what is news. Most of the time, you are out in the field, you will see certain things that everybody else sees. It may not be news to the ordinary person. Somebody died, he was buried, there was no autopsy. Is there news? There's news. Because burying a person without undergoing an autopsy, when the person died under strange circumstances, it is news. So it is necessary that journalists also develop what I've come to call the third eye, to be able to tell what is news from what is not news. So that one too is also there. If you go to chapter 8, I don't think that there's any farmer in this country who will go to farm without a cutlass. We talk about how you can develop your tools. We talk about how you can cross-check your facts and information given you. Under the chapter 10, going to the mouth of the lion. So this particular book has been divided into at least 28 chapters. And in each chapter, we take one particular aspect of the practice of journalism and we deal with it. There is one particular chapter that we call accuracy and attribution. And let me tell